Tonight on Inside Story, a deadly conspiracy.
It was cold, it was callous.
3 conniving women with murder on their minds.
Never come across such contempt for human life.
The jealous wife.
I had no knowledge in what was going to happen.
Her sister and her mother.
Because I'm the only one with the guts to come forward.
The unsuspecting husband.
No inkling, none whatsoever.
And the hitman they hire to gun him down.
I can't remember shit, mate.
She's got a motive for murder and she's got a plan. Oh, shit!
How bad blood in the family can end in murder. Hello, I'm Layla McKinnon. Welcome to Inside Story. Somehow it seems like the ultimate betrayal, a killer in the family. A killer angry enough, sick enough to destroy the life of someone they supposedly love. Tom Steinfurt's been investigating.
Yeah, Layla, these are crimes that are mostly driven by passion and greed when all of a sudden love just turns into loathing and the people that are supposed to care most out of nowhere become murderers, and most worryingly here, it's all too common.
It's unthinkable, but as you'll see, all too real.
On a moonlit night on October 23, 2009, 2 shots ring out. Cracking the still air of a country night, leaving Jeff Ryan lying alone, his life seeping away in the dark.
It was cold, it was callous, it was premeditated. It was a total disrespect for life.
Jeff's shattered body will lie there on the cold ground for 12 hours until he's eventually found dead next morning by a neighbour.
He was left on the ground to die, without a hand to hold, without anything, without somebody there to comfort him.
What police discover about Jeff Ryan's murder shocks even the most hardened investigators. 3 women had plotted to carry out the brutal killing: Jeff's wife, her sister, and her mother.
I had nothing whatsoever to gain by wanting my husband killed.
I've never come across a group of women that have such, I suppose, contempt for human life as these particular women.
She told me if I speak up, I'd be going to another funeral.
As we'll see tonight, what drove these women to kill were the most basic of all human emotions: lust, revenge, and greed.
To sit here and tell you that 3 women plan virtually the assassination of my brother is beyond comprehension.
In South Australia, a crime so heartless that it challenges our very notion of family: the murder of Glennice Haywood. Glennice died at the hands of her violent, controlling husband Neil after years of abuse. But it was the treachery of her youngest son Matthew that makes this crime so shocking.
I'll never forgive Matthew. Never.
He lured his mother to a house where his vengeful father was waiting to kill her.
It's hard to imagine what must have gone through her mind, knowing that the son that she thought she could trust and loved has betrayed her.
As we will discover, it was a murder planned in minute detail between father and son.
She thought that Matthew still loved her. She was very, very happy about that. And she never came back.
But first, Tamworth, New South Wales. Jeff Ryan is dead. His family is devastated and mystified. 49 with 4 children from 2 marriages, Jeff was well liked in this prime farming district.
Heart-wrenching. He's an everyday family with a man who just gave everything to his community, and he was callously gunned down.
From the very beginning, there were many questions surrounding this murder. Firstly, who'd want to kill Jeff Ryan? He was a hard-working cattleman, well respected in this tight-knit community. But perhaps more perplexing was the fact that when Jeff was ambushed and shot, his wife Helen was at home just 400 metres away, but she claimed she didn't hear a thing.
She was only a few hundred metres away and claimed not to hear the gunshot.
No.
Do you buy that for a minute?
No. She reckons the TV was up and all, but no.
Mr. Ryan's mother and son made an emotional plea to the public for information about his death.
What unfolds is a bizarre murder plot, a triangle of evil, and how these three women, Jeff's wife Helen, her sister Janine and mother Corali, did it is so cold-blooded that it defies belief.
Surely one of three could have said, this is a very stupid idea. Is there not some way we can work around this? Where is the respect for someone's life? There was none.
Such was Helen Ryan's contempt for her husband's life that within days of his murder, she's spreading rumours about him, creating false leads to cover her guilt.
Helen was having conversations about Jeff's background and that he was acting strangely and maybe involved with people with a criminal history. However, we obtained a large number of statements, and nearly all of them said that Jeffrey was a good bloke.
Meanwhile, police are whittling down their list of suspects. Almost from the beginning, they believed it was anything but a random killing. You knew something was wrong straight away when you hugged her that first time after Jeff was killed. Describe that hug for me.
Like a piece of concrete, really cold concrete. You know, you put your arms around cold concrete because there was no give in it whatsoever. No, she was hard and cold.
Coming up on Inside Story,
the whole family were thick as thieves.
the intrigues, the affairs and the ruthless plot to kill Jeff Ryan.
She was tough as nails.
This countryside is so typically Australian. It's little wonder Jeff Ryan loved it so much. Can you believe that in somewhere so beautiful, something so awful could happen?
No, I don't think, I don't think anyone expected something so horrific to happen.
Jeff Ryan's marriage to Helen was spawned in an unusual set of circumstances. He first met her when he was going out with her sister, Janine. But within a few months, he'd fallen for Helen instead. There was a problem, though. She was already married to a bloke called Graham Pateman.
So when was the moment you twigged that Jeff had stolen your wife?
Believe it or not, Tom, the moment was when I come home and she wasn't here. I thought, well, is she shopping? Is she going to see a friend? And strangely enough, the sister Janine, she was worried also because she hasn't heard from Jeff Ryan for a few days, see? And she was come over to the house. Have you heard from Helen? I said, no. I said, I haven't heard from Helen. She said, I haven't heard from Jeff neither. You know, and that's when we looked at each other and it twigged.
Married life with Helen wasn't the idyllic country existence that Jeff Ryan imagined. The tough reality hit when the big drought forced him to find work in town in 2008. The marriage then began falling apart. Before long, Jeff had started a relationship with Robin Draper, a woman he was working with.
At first it was a friendship type of relationship where he was able to disclose problems and discuss things that were going on at home with this particular lady. And from our inquiries, we believe that that relationship eventually became somewhat intimate and that he was quite taken with her.
Helen was furious when she learned of Jeff's affair, even though, as it turned out, she was having one herself.
I think Helen was in in some sense, insanely jealous of Jeff's ability to be able to mix with people. I think she was extremely jealous of Jeff's relationship with Robin.
By this stage, they're living in separate bedrooms in the family home. Clearly, things aren't working, and finally, Jeff realises that it just can't go on like this. He's had enough, and he goes to see a lawyer. The path to divorce is now certain. Helen demands the cattle property as well as 50% of their assets. Jeff offers 30%, but she knocks it back. The situation at home is now toxic, and soon things start getting physical. But it's Helen who's the aggressor.
I saw the actual bruises.
Did he say what happened?
I don't know whether he was sleeping, but she attacked him on the bed because they were separate rooms, and then she attacked him on the bed.
Jeff's forced to move out of the family home and lives nearby in a shipping container. It's become a bitter standoff, and Jeff is increasingly alarmed by Helen's behaviour. One of the strange photos that we've seen is of Helen standing at the edge of the shipping container, just staring at Jeff. It's a bit psychotic, isn't it?
Oh, God. You do imagine it. Terrible.
Helen Ryan is out for revenge. Her husband's having an affair, she's about to be divorced, and she's far from happy with the settlement he's offering her. She's got a motive for murder, and she's got a plan. But to carry it out, she's going to need some help. So, strangely, she turns to the woman that she stole Jeff off in the first place, her sister, Janine.
Thick as thieves. The whole family were thick as thieves. There's an old saying, you know, blood's thicker than water. Well, that is a true saying.
Janine is hardly the girl next door. She's a long-term drug user and one-time prostitute. Conviction for dealing in stolen property.
I remember asking her one day, I said, what are you going to do when you leave school, Janine? I said, you know, you got any plans? And she looked me straight in the eye, and I can still see it today. She said, Graham, she said, I think I'll go into the prostitution industry. And I couldn't believe, even today I think about it and I have a little giggle to myself, and that's exactly what she did.
And Janine had built a web of contacts on the seedy side of life. People who, for a price, could help get rid of Jeff for good. In September 2009, Helen Ryan meets her hitman Ken Brooks here in Tamworth. He's a former truckie, now on a disability pension, and he's got an amphetamine habit to support. Perhaps not the most reliable gunman, but he assures her that he's up to the task. So she hands over photos of her husband Jeff, plus $500 to cover his expenses. The job is on.
As a person you'd want to hire to do this sort of work, you couldn't hope for a worse person, I don't think.
So Helen has her gunman, but now she's got a new problem. How's she going to come up with $30,000 for the hit? Well, that's where her mother, Corali, comes in. She generously stumps up for the deposit.
I suppose a bit like Bea out of Prisoner or Judy Moran out of Underbelly, something like that. Bit of a matriarch.
73-year-old Corali is a mother of 6 and a grandmother too. But she's not the sweet granny she appears to be.
She was very hard and basically you think butter wouldn't melt on the outside of her, but inside she was tough as nails.
On October 23, 2009, hitman Ken Brooks rings Helen Ryan to tell her the hit's going down tonight.
We believe Ken was ringing Helen at that stage to basically find out the location of where Jeffrey was so that he could follow through and carry out the murder.
Jeff's at the house, as he is every night, to feed the dogs. He even has a cup of coffee with Helen, oblivious to the fact that his wife is planning his final moments.
I was probably the last one he spoke to, you know, and he was going to watch Da Vinci Code.
Did he have any inkling that he was about to be killed?
No inkling, none whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Sometime between 7:30 and 8:15, Jeff leaves the house to go back to the shipping container he's moved into. Brooks phones Helen, who tells him Jeff's exact location. The murder target and the gunman are now each on their pathway to a terrible conclusion. Sometime after 8:40, Jeff hears a car approaching, so he goes outside to investigate. Within seconds, he's hit by a blast from a 12-gauge shotgun.
He may have been laying here crying out for someone, and then you start having these horrendous thoughts. If someone was here straight away and did something, would something have done? But Jeff's gone.
The pathologist was of the opinion that it would have taken some minutes for him to die and that he would have been in extreme pain when it happened.
Coming up, the hitman himself.
I can't remember shit, mate. I can't remember what happened yesterday.
A ruthless murder plot has come to its terrible climax, a cold and calculated killing. But from very early in their investigation, police have their suspicions about exactly who killed Jeffrey Ryan. All they need is the evidence to prove it. In the end, that would come down to a mix of high-tech police work, painstaking detail, and the careless trail left by the increasingly confident killers.
There's Helen.
There's the car. Excellent.
Corali's in the car. We've been able to overhear the conversations where all three women basically confirmed their roles and what each one of them had done, where monies had gone, what accounts they used. I believed that we had a huge amount of evidence against the three women.
From the start, some members of Jeff's family weren't fooled by Helen Ryan's public displays of grief either.
She played this wonderful grieving widow at the funeral, the sob.
Were there tears? Were there tissues?
There were pretend tears.
Specialist police divers, sniffer dogs and firearm experts have also combed his farm to search for clues.
The weapon used to murder Jeff Ryan is never found, but police are also building a case against the hitman, Ken Brooks. In December 2009, he's brought in for questioning, but he appears a little worse for wear.
The phone number is?
I don't know numbers, mate. I told you that earlier.
No, I've just got to ask, mate.
I can't remember shit, mate. I can't remember what happened yesterday.
It's just stupid. Anyone who can point a gun and shoot is bright enough to be a hitman if they want to be. It doesn't take brains to do it.
Do you know a fellow by the name of Jeffrey Ryan who lives in Tamworth?
No.
Do you know any person by the name of Janine Coulter?
No.
No? What about Coral Coulter?
No. Where are these names coming from?
There's not enough evidence to charge him yet. But in January of 2010, 3 months after the murder, the police set up a sting to nab the hapless hitman after he receives Helen's final payment. The money is handed over. But as soon as Helen leaves, the police swoop on Brooks.
Oh, shit!
The day after Brooks is nicked, police arrest Helen Ryan, her mother Corali, and her sister Janine. The charge is murder.
What involvement did you have in respect of the murder of your husband, Jeffrey Ryan?
I had no involvement in it.
No involvement at all?
No knowledge in what was going to happen at all.
The evidence is damning, but Helen Ryan claims she never wanted her husband murdered.
Because I paid the $5,000 to have him roughed up, and then I find out that he's been killed, and I was terrified that this is what would happen and I would get the blame and people would point the finger at me.
And already, she's trying to shift the blame to her sister.
Janine told me back in '94, I think it was around the time when Jeff left her for me, that she would get me.
Okay. Was anyone present when that conversation took place?
I have no idea.
I didn't believe a word that came out of Helen's mouth. If she told me the sun was shining and it was a day, I'd still go out and check before I believed what she told me. But she basically tried to shift blame to other people.
How would you describe Helen?
I think she's a narcissist, and basically, as a person, she's a very cruel and selfish woman. I've never met anyone quite like her.
Did Helen ever tell you what she hoped to gain for having Jeff killed?
You can answer that question. Did she ever explain to you what she was hoping to gain?
Property.
In the end, Janine proved to be the weak link and eventually rolled over.
Have you got anything that will corroborate that?
No, because I'm the only one with the guts to come forward.
Right. Have you spoken to your mother about this?
No.
So she's unaware that you're here now? Have you spoken to Helen about this?
She knows I'm here now. She knows I'm here now.
Was she aware what you're going to say?
No.
At the trial, the three women turn on each other. Corali claims that she was an unwitting participant, duped into paying money to the hitman. Helen says that she just wanted Jeff roughed up so that he wouldn't divorce her. But Janine, she testifies against her mother and sister, spelling out the whole sordid story. The triangle is now well and truly broken. Certainly the jury had no doubts about their guilt, and after just 3 hours of deliberation, Helen and Corali are found guilty of murder. Helen is sentenced to a minimum of 27 years and Corali to 18. Janine is found guilty of conspiracy to murder and gets 7.5 years.
I was heartbroken. $30,000 for a life. How can you put a price on somebody's life to start with? And to have somebody think that that's what my dad was worth it's not something that sits well with me.
The hitman, Ken Brooks, has also been found guilty. But he's got one loyal friend, Peter in Benoni, who still has doubts about that verdict.
I don't think he would have done it for any amount of money. I think if this man had done something to Kenneth, I think then Kenneth would have took his head off with a baseball bat. And I'm going to stay that. But I don't believe he would shoot him.
It's sort of splitting hairs, though, isn't it? Saying he'd kill someone with a baseball bat, but not with a gun.
But that's his personality. I just can't see him picking up a gun and shooting a man. And he was a terrible shot anyway, all right? Believe me, I've been shooting with him. He's a shocking shot.
Well, one shot missed and one hit.
Yeah, that's true. I read that too.
Still to come on Inside Story, the violence, the fear.
He beat the hell out of her.
The daring escape.
She virtually blew to Sir.
And then the betrayal by the son she loved.
I'll never forgive Matthew. Never.
Jeff Ryan's murder was shocking and unexpected, but at least there is an explanation. Base human emotions like greed and jealousy. Some crimes, though, simply defy understanding.
It was a crime so cruel, so brutal. What Glennice Haywood endured beggars belief.
We are treating her disappearance as suspicious.
Kidnapped, tortured and bashed to death. And then thrown into a septic pit and buried.
Do you still grapple to get your head around the way they did it?
Yes, to be so brutal about it. Pretty gruesome. The way she died.
Glennice Haywood, a 53-year-old mother of two, had been missing 4 months when her body was found on a remote property in Western Victoria.
I really knew there was something major had happened to her.
Right from the start, Glennice Haywood's estranged husband, Neil, was the prime suspect.
And clearly we knew that, we felt that Neil was right behind this. He was the one that had so much to lose.
As we'll see, Neil Haywood was a violent, controlling and obsessive man.
She was afraid not to do what he wanted.
For over 20 years, he physically and mentally abused his wife, Glennice.
I knew straight away. I knew what had happened.
What was that?
That he had killed her.
But before long, police would have their sights set on another man whose identity would have people shaking their heads in disbelief. Glennice Haywood's youngest son, Matthew.
It's hard to imagine what must have gone through her mind, knowing that the son that she thought she could trust and loved has betrayed her.
Glennice and Neil Haywood were once in love. They had 2 boys, Thomas and Matthew, and for more than 20 years ran a lucrative dairy farm on the outskirts of Mount Gambier in South Australia.
I guess they must have had some good times when they first met, but it just deteriorated, yeah.
The beatings were ferocious and frequent. Glennice confided in close friend Marie Johnston that she feared Neil would eventually kill her.
She was scared of him. I mean, he's beaten her up so badly sometimes, nearly killed her. And he used to brag to people how he tied the missus up last night and gave her a bloody hiding.
We heard lots of other stories as time went on about her being found tied to a chair inside the house and was found by a stock agent. He released her, she went to the toilet, came back out and begged him to tie her back up again so Neil would find her in the same position when he got home. So a lot of horrific domestic violence.
Finally, Glennice had had enough. At the end of 2006, she walked out of the family home, leaving her abusive husband Neil and 2 sons, Thomas and Matthew, behind.
Why didn't she leave Neil earlier, do you think?
If you're told often enough that you're a piece of shit, you start believing it. And you believe that nobody would want you. And so you just don't go anywhere because you'd be on your own. But in the end, she became too scared to stay.
Glennice moved 2 hours away to this dairy property where she got a job as a farmhand. But from the outset, she was paranoid that Neil would track her down. She wouldn't tell any of her co-workers here her name or her phone number, and she always had her car packed with her belongings, ready to flee at a moment's notice.
We just hit it off right from the word go.
But Glennice's life was about to change. After years of abuse, she found freedom, happiness, and a new man who treated her with respect, Chris Sigston. It was only 3 months before she disappeared.
We were trying to take it slowly because I didn't want her to rush into anything after being in that situation. I didn't want to think that I was taking advantage of her. Or...
From all reports, she just became a new woman once you 2 got together.
She did, yeah. She virtually bloomed as a woman, yeah. Yep. The first thing she noticed when she came to my house was we had a bath. Oh, she said, a bath. She was great. She'd come back from the dairy and jump in the bath with a heap of bubbly stuff and she'd have a glass of white wine. It was good.
With a new life, new man, plus unprecedented freedom and happiness, Glennice began divorce proceedings. She wanted $2 million of their $6 million estate, but that made Neil furious. He'd lost control of her, and now he wanted her dead.
He was just virtually in fear of her life because he told her if she ever left, he'd kill her.
Coming up, the betrayal.
I'm going to go in and talk to the police for a few minutes.
How Matthew Haywood lured his mother to her death.
The whole thing was just a trap.
Glennice Haywood had fled her violent husband, but Neil was determined to track her down. He was not only enraged that she'd left him, but she was also asking for $2 million in a property settlement.
He just didn't want to give Glennice a penny. He told her that. He said, "You're never get a penny out of me if you leave."
Because Neil intended to kill her.
He knew that he would probably have to give her half of his estate, and he wouldn't want that. He's a spiteful man and a selfish man. He wouldn't want to share anything with Glennice.
In the months leading up to her murder, Neil had done his best to turn sons Thomas and Matthew against their mother, claiming there'd be nothing left of their inheritance after the divorce settlement. Then he set about luring Glennice back to Mount Gambier, using their youngest son Matthew as the bait.
The whole thing was just a trap to get her to come down to Mount Gambier. She definitely trusted Matthew and she loved him, and she was very, very happy that she thought that he still loved her.
But Matthew had been totally brainwashed by his father, and he knowingly took part in the plot to kill his mother, inviting her to Mount Gambier for dinner. Glennice made the trip back to Matthew's on the 23rd of July 2007, oblivious to her fate.
And one of the best things I ever did was I said, well, this is a bit stupid. I said, I love you. I told her I loved her before she left, so I'm very glad I did that. That was the last time I saw her.
In Mount Gambier, Glennice had drinks with her friend Marie before meeting up with her son for dinner.
Chris, he had told her he loved her. And she was so excited. Nobody had ever told her that. And she was excited because she was going to see Matthew, whom she trusted. That was the happiest I have ever seen her.
This CCTV footage from the Mount Gambier RSL captured Glennice and Marie at 5 p.m. that evening. It was the last time she was seen in public.
Little did I think I would never, ever see her again. She was only staying with Matthew.
Glennice was elated to be with her son, but for Matthew, it was all an act. And what she didn't know was that at the very same time, her husband Neil and an accomplice, farmhand Jeremy Minter, were preparing to kill her.
I think Jeremy, hard to say without putting a label on him, but I don't think he's not the smartest tool it's in the shed, old Jeremy, and I think he got sucked in a lot by Neil. Neil's a very controlling sort of person, and I think he just wanted to please Neil.
Sometime that evening, Matthew asked Glennice to visit a house he was considering buying.
So after dinner, I thought I could take you down and show you.
I love that.
But it was a terrible lie. Instead, he led his mother into a fatal trap.
Matthew walks in with his mother. Jeremy and Neil jump out. They grab Glennice and throw her to the ground. And at that stage, Matthew just turns around and walks out, turns his back on his mum and walks out. Neil then starts kicking her in the head, and she starts to bleed from the nose. He then, with Jeremy's help, they hog-tie her with rope.
And then she was loaded into a wheelie bin and was put on the back of this four-wheel drive ute and then driven to another property outside at Mount Gambier.
At that point, Neil Haywood's accomplice, Jeremy Minter, is dropped off. Neil heads off towards the Victorian border with Glennice in the back of the ute, beaten and barely alive.
You can't imagine the fear that she would have been going through. She would have been alive in that wheelie bin, in pain after being assaulted. And she would know that Neil was taking her somewhere to kill her. She would have known that.
The following day, Glennice never returned home to her boyfriend, Chris Sigston.
And I just started ringing a phone non-stop, and it was just ringing out and going to message bank.
Chris Sigston reported Glennice Haywood missing on the 27th of July 2007. When police interviewed her son Matthew as the last person known to have seen her alive, he already had a story worked out with his father to tell them.
I'm going to go in and talk to the police for a few minutes. I'd appreciate it if you just leave me alone.
He told us that she arrived at his house at about 6 p.m. that night. She cooked dinner for him. He said that about sometime during the evening she received a phone call. And she said it was from a male friend, and this male friend was going to come around and collect her about 10:30, and they were going to go off for a little holiday over into Melbourne for a couple of weeks.
But the police didn't buy that story.
Her car was left there, her belongings were left there, her medication was left there, and she just apparently walked out late at night to travel interstate with some other person, which the son never identified or never made any inquiries about. It just, the whole thing was a bit suspicious.
At that stage, we had strong suspicions that both he and his father were involved in her disappearance, and she'd met with foul play.
Did part of you just want to go and throttle Neil and say, where is she?
Oh, yes. I said that to the detectives too, and they said, just cool it, don't do anything. They said, he'll have you up on an assault charge, just exactly what he wants. He said, just leave it to us.
Without a body, the police could only keep the pressure on both father and son and hope a crack emerged. And soon enough, it did. Police needed a breakthrough, and of all places, it came at the local pub. A young man was chatting with a bouncer when he boasted that he'd murdered Glennice. What was important about him and his story was his link to Neil Haywood. It was Jeremy Minter, the farmhand, who helped Neil carry out the terrible crime.
So we were lucky in one way that the farmhand had a big mouth. And then things happened.
Adelaide major crime detectives and Victoria Police converged on the property this morning, about 30 kilometres across the border.
4 months after Glennice waved goodbye to her new boyfriend Chris, her body was found in a septic pit just over the border in Victoria.
Only Neil knows how long it was before he finally killed her. We believe that he tortured her for some time.
Glennice's youngest son and Minter were essential parts of a plot to murder the 54-year-old.
Glennice Haywood's youngest son Matthew, along with Jeremy Minter, were arrested for their role in her murder.
Could Glennice's murder have happened without Matthew's involvement, do you think?
No, I don't think so, no.
I'll never forgive Matthew. Never.
Coming up, Neil Haywood's last defiant stand.
He wasn't coming out and he had a stick of gel ignite.
Glennice Haywood had completely trusted her 20-year-old son Matthew, but he had betrayed her. He willfully handed her over to his father and she was murdered. Now he was under arrest, but catching his father Neil wasn't as easy.
Negotiators were called in, but the wanted man wasn't going quietly. Police say he claimed to be armed and in possession of a bomb.
Police found Neil held up in a house 80 kilometres from Mount Gambier.
He told us that he wasn't coming out and he had a stick of gel ignite.
And finally, after some hours, 7 hours I believe, they accessed the house and found him. There was a lot of blood in the house. He had self-inflicted some stab wounds on himself.
Neil Haywood was then charged with the murder of his estranged wife, but he'd never be found guilty. He hanged himself in jail while awaiting trial.
You'd like to see the man convicted. I think he's cheated a lot of people out of that by doing what he did do.
And then he took the easy way out. Everybody said to me, I bet you're glad he's dead. And I said, no, I'm not. Because he was a control freak. He controlled his wife, and he would have been in jail the rest of his life being controlled by somebody else. That's why he hung himself.
As for Glennice's son Matthew, he argued that he'd innocently come to this house with no idea what was about to happen. But the jury, well, it simply didn't believe him, deciding that he'd brought his mother here fully aware of his father's evil intentions.
Matthew still denies knowing that there was going to be anything evil transpiring at that house. Do you buy that for a second?
It's possible. Matthew kept on saying in court that he just wanted to get Glennice there so his father could actually talk to her. It's quite possible that Matthew thought that that was the truth. But then when he got her there and they grabbed her, why did he leave? You know, he could have backed his mother up.
Today, Matthew Haywood and farmhand Jeremy Minter are serving life sentences for murder with a non-parole period of 23 years.
Looking back, do you still feel the same towards Neil? Or where are your emotions at now?
Oh, yeah, I still hate the man. And she was only just starting a new life, which she deserved. Yeah, I don't think I'd ever forgive the man. No, never.
And how do you feel now when you think back about Glennice?
Oh, well, I was glad I had the time with it that I did. But I just, every now and again, I think to myself, I wonder what we'd be doing now if we were together. Yeah.
Up in New South Wales, the Ryans have also had to live with their family tragedy, Jeff's senseless murder. A cold-blooded execution plotted by his wife Helen, her sister Janine and mother Corali. Cruelly, Helen Ryan has refused to admit her guilt and to explain her reasons for the crime.
I had nothing whatsoever to gain by wanting my husband killed.
It still gobsmacks me, because, you know, if he'd been really horrible or he'd set the house on fire or he'd done really horrible things, there might have been a weeny little thing that did, but he did nothing, absolutely nothing. Why she didn't, I'll never know.
All three women are behind bars here at Silverwater Prison, and the fractures that emerged during the court case now run even deeper. Initially, Janine was placed into protective custody, but now it's been reported that Corali has tried to convince other inmates to bash her daughter Helen as well.
I sit here and I think of all the times we were as kids and I just miss him. We all get angry at, you know, Helen and what happened. Jeff would want us to stand up and be proud of who we are and
we can't let him down.
And not let Jeff down.
The killers are behind bars, but Jeff's family is left to deal with the fallout. A burden of grief and disbelief that three women could so coldly plot his murder.
I suppose you miss Jeffrey all the time, but do you miss him even more so when you have the family getting together like this?
Yeah, there's just an ache. There's a little empty ache that all of us carry, that little empty place inside that will never be filled again.